Hello, I'm Ivory, and welcome to the show. Today's topic is the healing power of nature. It's a topic I'm passionate about, and we'll be digging right into that. But I do want to say hello to all of my listeners all across the United States. I so appreciate all of you. I feel very blessed that so many of you are finding the show, and more important, finding it helpful for you, which is what it's all about. So thank you so much for being here. This topic, the healing power of nature, I am going to be talking about that mostly. Right at the end, I'm going to be talking about seeing angels in nature. It's something that has happened to me and happened to a client of ours at Sedona Soul Sisters that I think you'd be very interested in and might inspire you to try something of your own. But first, I just want to talk about how healing being in nature is. It's funny for me to cover this topic. My family, who knows me well, my friends know I'm pretty much allergic to nature. So if I go outside, I'm going to be suffering from allergies for days afterwards, if not more. And yet I want to be outside. I want to be in nature as much as I can. And I do go out. And I have a favorite place locally here in the Verde Valley that I love to go walking, where there's water, which I love. And it's about finding a place, and it doesn't have to be one place. You can have, I have several, have a list of places that you can go to that just feels really good to you. And part of that is coming back to science about the frequency, the vibration of humans, of plants, of trees, of everything that's alive. I feel the angels coming in as I talk about this. I've always felt that, even as a child when I was outside, like I felt the aliveness, I felt the frequency, the kinship with nature. And so it's finding a place that feels good to you. When my daughter was young, we lived across the mountain in Prescott, Arizona, and I would bring her over to Sedona for, we call them girls' weekends. And we would come over for 3 days, stay in a little motel in Oak Creek Canyon that no longer exists. And we would eat at restaurants. We'd do a lot of hiking and playing in the woods and looking in shops and whatever just seemed to be fun at the time. But what was always interesting is both of us, I remember talking about it even when she was about 9 years old, that when we would get to West Sedona, which is where my business is, all of a sudden we would feel giddy. And it's not just because Sedona is so beautiful and we loved being here. It was the frequency. My daughter's also has some of the gifts that I do, even though she doesn't use those professionally. So even as a child, like she could feel it, and Sedona felt really good to her. And she ended up getting married in Sedona in Oak Creek Canyon because it always felt so good to her. So that's another example, but people generally have an affinity. And some people know it already. Like I know I'm an ocean person and a mountain person, which is odd, but I love oceans. I always feel good there. And for those of you who are a water or an ocean person, particularly the ocean, when you get to the beach and you're standing there and you're getting all those positive ions just washing over you, and you just feel your frequency go up. You might not know it's what it is, but you just start to feel better and happier and more carefree. It's a boost to your whole system to get that. Then there's that wonderful ocean breeze coming in from the sea that washes over you. You can put your feet, walk in. I love to body surf, so walk in, swim in the ocean, and just let your cares be taken away. For me, just sitting on a beach quietly and watching the ocean and listening to the waves rolling in is very peaceful. And I've received some powerful angelic messages from my team in that state, just sitting there. So the other thing for me is mountains. And I know that's probably because I was raised in the Appalachian area in back east. And so I always lived in or near mountains, and then in Prescott, which is in the mountains. So now I don't live in the mountains, but there's a big mountain in view of my back window that's close. And I feel good about that. Like I love that. I went to Flagstaff Wednesday and it felt so good to be up there in the even higher altitude. There still was a lot of snow on the ground, which always makes me happy. So if you're a water person, it can be the ocean, it can be ponds, lakes, streams, rivers, and even a swimming pool. There was a time when I was living in the Phoenix metropolitan area and I was having a rough time because it's pretty flat. So I didn't feel very comfortable there. And I'm not a big city person. But I found a house on Lookout Mountain and I rented a house there that was near the top of the mountain overlooking the city, but it had a private pool in the backyard. And that's how I learned that just having a pool to sit by and look at was very healing if you're a water person. So, it doesn't have to be going to the ocean, though I do think that is the best fix if you need that. If you like the mountains, then you just need to have them nearby. You need to maybe be surrounded by them. Maybe you need to spend more time in them. Even if you're not a hiker, you could just stay somewhere there or go for the day and be in the mountains. Some people need forests, which can be flat as well. That doesn't have to be on a mountain, but they need a lot of trees around them. And there's other people who, and is very foreign to me because I've always been around mountains, but I have my daughter lives in the Chicago outskirts now in the suburbs. And so I've met so many Midwesterners and they feel comfortable when it's flat. That's what they're used to. That's what they grew up around. So you need to just tune into that. Sometimes it is about what you're comfortable with, and sometimes it's about what lifts your frequency tremendously, what just feels really good to you to be around. And only you are going to know what that is. And by the way, there's no reason that you have to pick one. Like I said, I'm a water mountain girl. I've recently had several friends and fans up in the Northwest area of the United States who said, Ivory, there's a place for you. And I think it's Humboldt County, California, because up in that area, apparently there's redwood forest and the ocean in the same place. So I'm going to go check that out with my oldest grandson this coming summer. We're going on another adventure together and see how that feels. It sounds lovely. So pay attention to that and have a place you can go when you need an uplift. If you're trying to raise your frequency, having a place or several places outdoors that you can go and spend time in, maybe do meditation there, just sit and soak it in. You don't have to meditate in the traditional way. You can just sit and be silent and receive. So another thing, and I've noticed this for a long time, I always feel closer to God when I'm in nature. And I think just surrounded by all of nature, who made nature? Well, God. Well, I just have always felt closer to a higher power when I'm in nature. And I've met a good number of people who feel the same. That has nothing to do, nothing against churches or gatherings or sacred meetings. But if you're like me and you feel closer to a higher power when you're in nature, then that's a good place for you to improve your connection, deepen your connection to a higher power, is getting out in nature. And I always say, it always mystifies me when people want to separate angels and God. Angels are messengers of God. Angels work doing God's bidding. So if you're getting closer to God, you're getting closer to angels too. Then there's the purely restorative. I think just on a physical human basis, it's good for us to get out of our houses and get some fresh air. It's good to see some new scenery. It's good to raise your frequency. Just being in nature will do that. You'll feel a little more free, a little more carefree, a little more, maybe get into your childlike mode for a while. And then seeing beautiful sights is very healing to the human spirit. Right now, there are many people who are losing hope and feel like they just can't find hope anymore. There's so much craziness going on. I encourage you to especially get out in nature, find some beautiful sights. I picked this background not because it's St. Patrick's Day, but because it's so beautiful. And I want you to notice some little things about this picture. Do you notice how the sun is really brightening some of those shamrocks? How they just seem to jump out of the page almost fluorescent because the sun is shining on them? And notice how there's some drops of dew on other leaves. And then there's some buds that aren't even open yet. I can sit and just stare at something like this for quite a while and just let myself be lost in the beauty of nature. And I always feel better. So sometimes you just need to clear your head. And instead of watching TV, go outside for a little bit. You know, God made this beautiful, beautiful planet, and I am never ceasing to be floored by how gorgeous our planet is. And it makes me even more determined to make sure it goes on as beautiful as it is, if not better. Another thing to take in mind is the earthing quality, balancing, grounding that you get. And if you haven't heard of earthing, there's actually a book called Earthing, which as soon as I heard about this, I got that book and I started practicing it, which isn't easy because here in this area, all the yards are gravel and you need to put your feet on soil or grass, real grass. There isn't any of that right here. So if you have either one of those, that would be best, and put your feet on soil or grass, bare feet, for 30 minutes. You can read a book while you do it. You can chat with a friend while you do it. You can be on the phone while you do it. But what you're doing is reconnecting your body with the energy of earth, which is highly restorative. It's been said, and there's many who believe this, that modern man is very disconnected from the earth. And in the case of earthing, it's about that we wear shoes all the time where we used to be barefoot. So we don't actually touch the ground very much, most of us. We're not really touching earth with our feet anymore. So it's good for you. It'll just sort of balance you out, make you feel more grounded. If you're anxious, if you are scared, if you're afraid, it's very grounding for that. And if, like me, you live in an area where there isn't one of those things nearby, then you can get something called a grounding mat. And I actually am big on those anyway, because even if you have soil and grass, there's times of the year, like the dead of winter, if you're in areas that get a lot of snow or it's very cold out, you're not going to want to be outside with bare feet for a half an hour, right? So I bought one of those, and there's many different options. Mine is about 4 feet long and a foot wide, and it's very thin. You plug it in, and it puts out a very steady current, which is the same frequency the earth emits. So I put it under my feet a lot when I'm working, and I just slip my shoes off and put my feet on that, turn it on for a while. They also sell those where you can sleep on them or lie on them, and there's whole mattress covers that are made of those. So if you look up earthing mats, you'll find those. That gives you the same frequency. So it's sending it into your body, filling your body with the same frequency that the earth has. So you get that same effect, and you'll just feel better. You'll feel more calm. I notice when I don't use it for a while, I might start feeling a little anxious. I have said it before, I'll say it again. I have OCD. And so it used to be really bad when I was a young child, but I've consciously worked on that over the decades so that it's minimal now. And one of the things I think really helps me stay out of a place where I'm worrying a lot is the earthing mat, the balance mat. They call them grounding mats too. So consider that. You can also just lay on it while you're watching TV. So there's different ways to use it, and you can look that up, read about that. And I don't know a single person who has not felt a benefit from using those. So I do not sell them. I do not get some sort of commission for telling you about them. I'm always going to share something with you when I believe that it has great value and that there's probably a lot of you out there that could really use it. So check it out. Maybe you can borrow a friend, see how it works for you, help you make up your mind. So I said that I was going to talk to you about seeing angels in nature. It's very interesting how a camera or even a camera in a phone can pick up things the human eye doesn't see. It's even happened to me. Uh, and I see a lot of things that are supernatural, that are angelic, that are outside of the norm. I just always have. So I want to tell you first about a client who came to visit the country. She came to Sedona, and she was doing some hiking out in the, what is it called? Dry Creek Road area. You go all the way to the end of Dry Creek, and before it goes to Encanto Resort, you turn right. There's a parking area, and you hike down into a trail along the base of the Red Rocks. And she came back and told us, "Oh my gosh, I saw angels down there." And my partner and I, business partner and I, were like, "Let's go." So we didn't have any sessions booked. We shut the office down for a while, and off we went with this client to the same place. And though we didn't see them, we could feel them. We could feel them as we were approaching this area that was surrounded by trees, and it had a hushed atmosphere, and the frequency was higher there. We could definitely feel them. And so later she showed us, we got back to the office, and she showed us some pictures she took. She just felt like she didn't see anything with her eyes, but she felt like she needed to take these pictures. And so she shows them to us. And there's these blue orbs that were like royal blue and translucent, very noticeable. And they were about the size of a basketball. And they were down on the ground, and they were in varying pictures that would move. So in one picture, it's close to the front of the tree, and then a few pictures later, it's off to the left. So it wasn't a stationary item. We went back to that exact same place. That's where we went with her to look. And we didn't see anything there, but that's exactly where we told her, "Please don't tell us when we're approaching the area where you saw them. Let us just see if we feel it, so we're not influenced." And we did. We're like, "This is place, right?" And she's like, "Yes." And we're like, "Right over here in this group of trees here." Yes. So there's something there the angels really like. I've mentioned it in many shows before, how angels most often come through as beings of light, because that is what they are in the angelic realm, in the celestial realm. And so it's easier for them to come through in the state they truly are, rather than having to assume a form to meet our expectations based on like biblical statues and paintings. So I was living in Sedona, and probably the next year after this happened. And I had a little house that was up in a mountain surrounded by pine trees. And I went and got in my car, and I was going to go to work, and I heard my angels say, "Take a picture." I'm like, "Of what?" And they're like, "Take a picture." And they directed me to roll the window down on the driver's side, and to look out that side and just aim the camera towards these shrubs and trees near at the front of my house, which I did. I didn't see anything, but later when I got to the office and I checked the picture, you can clearly see this royal blue object. And no, we've had it checked by numerous people who work with photography, trying to figure that out. I've sent it to numerous people. Nobody knows exactly what it was, but the angels were adamant. And I thought it was very interesting that it was the same color, that royal blue, as what we saw out in those woods. So on another day, I was at Oak Creek in Red Rock Crossing, where Oak Creek goes through. And I've said before, Red Rock Crossing is where I feel is the highest frequency location in the Sedona area. It's my favorite place just to go hang out. I'll take my harp there or my Native American flute and just play there for a while and just soak in the high frequency. And I feel like I had a week's vacation. So I was down there, and it was in the fall. There weren't as many people. It was a little chilly. Nobody wanted to get their feet in that cold water. It was really freezing by then. But I was sitting there, and I started to see the white sparks of light that I often see with angels. And it's not always white, but there was one, and it was over the water, and it was in broad daylight with the sun out. And then I started seeing more and more until there was this sparkling pinpoints of white light about 3 feet in front of me, right over the creek. And as it was happening, I felt the frequency rise even higher in that location. And as I usually do, I just said, "Hello, angels. Thank you for being here with me. Thank you for showing me yourself today. I'm glad you probably love it here too." And the light intensified and the energy intensified. So you could be having some amazing experiences while you're out in nature. So I encourage you to take your camera. And if you just feel compelled to take a picture or a video, if you hear that voice in your head, your angel's talking to you saying, take a picture or look over there. They do that to me a lot. They'll be like, look over there. And I'll just do it because I know it's not me thinking it, it's angels telling me to do that. There's always something there they want me to catch, something there they want me to see. And again, you can catch more things on your camera or a phone camera than you will with your eyes generally. So I don't know why that is, but it is a fact. And I just wanted to let you know around creeks and streams is a wonderful place to catch unusual pictures because there's a lot of high frequency beings that love to be around water like that. Evidently, they are water beings. So, and clearly angels like it too. So angels know where the places are that have really high frequency. And of course, they're going to want to be there because they fit that. So again, I hope that this episode is encouraging for you to remember some places you just feel good at, and hopefully that are at least one that's near you that you can hop in the car or walk to really quick and get that fix and feel better and just help yourself physically, mentally, emotionally, get grounded, get balanced, lift your frequency, all those things. Remind yourself that there's so much more in this world other than your life and your being. It's such a big, amazing, glorious planet with everything on it. And go out and appreciate that. And if you're like me and you're allergic to the great outdoors, well, get some good allergy medicine because it's worth it. Like I said, I still go out walking and exploring areas multiple times a week, despite my terrible allergies, because I love it and it feels so good afterwards. And we all need everything we can right now to lift our spirits, to give us hope, to renew us, to help us keep shining our light. If we can't shine our light, that will be the reason to lose hope. So do whatever it takes to keep shining your light because you're important. What you're doing, what you're sharing with the people that you know, that you meet, that you care about is incredibly important. Never forget that. So next Sunday, I have a special guest, and that's Debra Martin. She is a world-renowned healer and the author of Proof of Miracles, which is you're going to love because I know you love stories. And Debra's a lovely person. I'll tell you during that show about what happened when she did a special healing for my mother last year and what's happened since then, which is a miracle on its own. So in the meantime, may your angels surround you. May your angels protect you every moment, every day of your life. You have a beautiful day.